Hello. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Discourse for the week of November 16th, 2020. The Discourse is our weekly news show here at the NYU Game Center, the game design department at New York University. Each week, Professors Frank Lance and Naomi Clark talk about game industry news and give us their scorching hot takes. Take it away, Frank and Naomi.
Thanks, Logan. Hi, Naomi.
Yeah, I've lost, oh wait, is my audio working? Yeah, it looks like it's there somehow.
If I had a nickel for every time I lost camera, I'd had $100 at least.
Yeah, okay, well, I think we're working. All right, so we have some weird news links this week. It's been a strange week in the news. So,
news of the weird.
Yeah, it's the news of the weird week. I think that's our theme.
Right.
And I thought we could do a little bit of like, did this really happen in the last week? So maybe we'll announce what some of these stories are ahead of time before we throw the link up, and then you can, like, if you want to play along out there in chat land, you can guess real quickly whether it's real or not. So the first one is that there was a professional golfer skipped a golf ball across a pond and got a hole in one that way. That's our first link for this week. That really happened. This is an easy one, just for starters. Some of you might have seen this this happen on the internet, and this one did really happen. This is pretty good, super real. It doesn't even look real though, right? That's
well, it's golf.
Right, it's golf. And so there's a lot of things which are just like, did that really happen? Did that like really occur? This is the most amazing part because it just looks like what?
Yeah.
Here's the crazy thing. As after I saw this, then Chris Wallace, who's an adjunct at the Game Center, said this isn't even the first time that has happened.
Yeah.
That apparently that this happened like 10 years ago. Somebody did the same shot, and this is kind of a repeat of that feat. Which I was like, what? Like, is this just like a weird physical property of this particular golf course during that that allows this?
I think is it the same hole? So it happened on the same hole?
I think so.
I think it's traditional that you skip your ball across this little lake. So right. that I didn't read anything about this, but my understanding of that is that it's it's a thing that you do.
It's a thing you do.
And so the skipping is everybody skips their ball across, and then occasionally balls are going to go into the hole. I mean, that is the object of the game.
Right. Yeah. It just looks kind of spectacular. And so wait, but what I want to know is this the intention of the golf course where they're like, we're going to make a hole where you can skip the ball across the water? I would prefer to live in a world where that's like the flabbergasting to the golf course designer too. That they're
I believe that this is a real world skip, right? So golf famously is like a sport with level design. One of the interesting things about golf is that it has level design in it. And I believe that I don't think that this course was designed for people to skip them. I think they sort of discovered this, that you could do it.
Right.
And I think it became like a cool, interesting, and maybe optimal way to approach this hole.
Yeah, and it's fantastic. I love it. It's got to be like one of the best holes in golf because of that. Well, I mean, but what do I know?
It's pretty good, and I actually genuinely like golf. I mean, there's things about golf that, for some reason, Hillary really likes to watch golf. We've never played golf, but she's really gotten into watching golf, and so we sometimes watch golf on TV. That there are lots of things to really like about golf. I mean, it is, a sport for like super wealthy people, so it's problematic in that respect. But there's something really nice about the way that golf takes the idea that the huge space of a golf course, and it uses that to magnify tiny differences in your action as a player. Right. So you have a slight difference in how you hold the club, or how the speed at which you hit the ball, and that tiny little difference gets magnified over the course of this enormous space, this distance between the ball. And so it's like, in the same way, the way I think about it is this: it's like, in the same way that a golf club is a simple machine, right? Mm-hmm. That is magnifying your force, your ability to hit the ball. Golf itself is a simple machine that magnifies the emergent properties of the tiny differences in cause and effect. And so this is a good example of that.
Probably for level design too, for that reason, right? Yeah. Just a slight difference in the slope, and just makes all these possibilities emerge.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff. And in our world, it's a sport for rich people, but like, just looking at golf, you can imagine it being played in so many different worlds where that's not necessarily the case, right? It's like a contingency of this particular world that it's like linked to real estate and like massive real estate development.
Isn't golf linked to real estate in any world that it exists in?
No, not necessarily. No,
it's real estate. It's the real estate game. It's the game that's played on large tracts of land.
There are worlds where hypothetically there are, where real estate is not the same kind of concern that it is in this world.
So if we lived in a Georgist world, maybe, and golf was shared as a public good, then okay, good point.
Well, then we could decide like how much of this territory should be devoted to golf courses. I'm thinking about this because a game that I played for a long time, Terraria, just recently added this year the ability to design golf courses and inside the game and play golf and have holes and clubs. And it's actually a real estate problem in that world too, because there's only like a limited amount of space. It's not Minecraft, right? Like in Minecraft, you could just put a golf course down and it just almost doesn't matter, right? It's just like endless terrain. But then there are all these players in smaller sandbox or constrained sandbox worlds who have to think about like, okay, where am I going to put the golf course? And it turns out they do mixed use golf courses in those games, where it's like, actually this golf course also serves another purpose when it's not being used as a golf course. Wow. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of what Salty Horse is saying. It's like there's existing infrastructure. You can use that for golf too. It doesn't have to just be greens, right? Like there's so many ways of imagining golf. I don't know.
I agree with Flan. I think mini golf is the golf of the people. That's people's golf.
It's true. It's like, it's for the little people, the people for whom mini golf is the same size as regular golf. Okay, let's move on from golf and look at something else. Yeah, we have to talk about real news. Like there's new consoles coming out. And the new console we want to talk about this week is the Dreamcast.
Yeah,
it's a great new console. I don't know if you
like it. It's not too early to announce a winner of the console wars, and it's the
console wars been won by the Dreamcast 2020. Yeah. It's the best new console because it's now equipped with all of the Thomas Wave games, which if you're not an early 2000s arcade fighting game fan, is the successor to the Neo Geo. It came out like 2003 or something like that, and it runs like some of the Guilty Gear games from 2003 were running on the Atomic Wave Samurai Showdown 6, I think. A bunch of SNK games from that era are now you can play them on the Dreamcast. So like, what's the big deal? Well, so this thing we're showing on the screen right now, this is Brendan Sheffield pointing out, like, actually it's kind of, that in 2020 the Dreamcast is still getting new games thanks to emulation, thanks to the fact that Sega hardware is kind of interestingly similar across its consoles and its real bailiwick, these arcade machines. So yeah, Dreamcast development and improvements continue apace.
I love the Dreamcast. I'm not a big console guy. I don't really care about this console or that console, but yeah, the Dreamcast definitely has a place in my heart. So
it's an arcade machine pretending to be a console. That's like part of the charm of the Dreamcast.
Yeah, it's had some good games on it.
Yeah, definitely. And, like Crazy Taxi.
I love Crazy Taxi.
Crazy Taxi is one of the games that I think was run on this Atomic Wave hardware. Or at least it's one of the things that use the Sega Naomi, which I'm familiar with because it's also my name. So
I did not understand this whole thing. I glanced at it. Something about an optical drive. I'm not sure why that like speed of reading the stuff off the drive. Maybe it's because it's like loading sprites.
Yeah, it's of emulation, right? And it's like in order to emulate some things that are really hardware specific, you have to do a lot of hardware emulation, right? Including drives and peripherals and stuff like that. And so I think my understanding of this was that it's partially the result of Sega's hardware design philosophy that this sort of became possible even many years after the fact. So yeah, those of you who are like Dreamcast emulation fans, it's a really exciting new console season, despite whatever else is going on with with Xbox Series X or Series S and PlayStation 5. Yeah, there's definitely, I don't know, been a bunch of news about that this week, but I frankly didn't really see anything that was super interesting in that news.
What about let's do a Dreamcast Teardown next week on the Discourse, right? We'll just take one apart and we'll really get in there and
really get in there. Yeah, my Dreamcast is at NYU. I can't tear it down. I would have to get a COVID test in order to
me too. Yeah, mine's also at NYU. So okay, well I guess we can't do a Dreamcast Teardown.
We can't do a teardown.
Yeah,
but,
close.
Yeah, but let's talk about the Xbox. Here's another real or not. Xbox is smoking. Like, did this really happen? People turn on their.
Looks real to me, Naomi. It's
totally real.
Let's do a quick check. All right, let's do an epistemological check. Like go through our list. Okay, is it on the internet?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess it's real. I guess it really happened.
Yeah, well, we can see a picture of it happening, right? So like that seems to be one of the new things that they've been figuring out in this post-election period where people are disputing ballot results is like the effect of disinformation when they're accompanied by video of any kind just becomes like thousandfold, right? Like there are these videos of people of ballots being burned. I shouldn't even mention it, right? Because if I say there was video of ballots being burned, that automatically is going to like, I don't know, maybe make some people watching right now feel like, oh my God,
I heard there was video of ballots being burned.
There was video.
I heard it twice, like recently, like in the last 10 seconds. Yeah.
And it turned out those were just sample ballots, and you could tell they're sample ballots because there's like no barcode or any identifying information on them. They're like sample ballots that anybody could get, and then someone burned them and put the video on the internet.
Right. So this is not real. This is just somebody vaping into an Xbox.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is true. Now that we're two older people on ranting about how bad the internet is compared to when we were children, it really is true. There used to be, in the early days of the internet, there used to be an ethos of skepticism. Part of the thing that separated you from the unwashed AOL masses, you, a smart internet person hanging out on message boards and the thing that marked you as a member in good standing of this like more sophisticated community was an awareness of and in a willingness to call shenanigans on things. You would look at a thing and instantly be like, nah, that's a little too good to be true.
That exists, though, right? It's just based on.
No, it does.
No, have you heard the phrase "pix or it didn't happen"? Like that is definitely still a thing, right?
Yeah, I know, but I feel like that is just a meme reference to the missing, like it's a joke, it's a tongue-in-cheek way of referencing the fact that it's silly to ask for evidence or it's silly to be skeptical, when in fact it used to be like a badge of honor to be the first person to kind of say, look, this story is a little too cute. Why don't we just tap the brakes on retweeting it constantly?
Well, the volume is so high now. So like every time there's like one of these fake stories, like in the replies almost right away, you can find people debunking it. But it just gets lost in the wash of stuff, right? And it doesn't get surfaced by the algorithm because social media doesn't know how to replicate the basic social structures that were established in the early years of the internet.
Right. Yes, I agree with you. And it's also a side effect of the rhythm at which things happen. It used to be a thing would show up and we would sit around and talk about it a little bit, and now it's a thing. You are just a node passing, information passes through, right? You see something, you instantly amplify it. And then if there is a moment for pausing and reflecting, it happens afterwards, like after you've already boosted the signal and been contributed to the spread of the meme or the image, because we're all just like little, content accelerators, right? Each of us kind of passing through, content is just passing through.
Yeah, and I wonder whether there's any effect of I don't know, are people like Twitter tried to disable the retweet button for a while during the election because they felt like just retweeting stuff was like their biggest negative contribution to this problem, right?
Yeah,
like
it still is like that, isn't it? If you hit retweet now, doesn't it like ask you to add something?
Asks you to add something, which
asks you to like do a quote tweet, and you can just not add anything, but it's still, they're trying to nudge us. It's a little bit of libertarian. It's called libertarian paternalism, Naomi. It's like seriously. I mean, that's what it is. It's like people who don't believe in dictating to people how they should do things are still trying to kind of nudge them using this Katzenstein style like design. Yeah.
And it feels extremely phoned in and like, oh, you introduced a little bit of friction in here. Does this do anything at all?
Yeah.
Like who even knows? Yeah. So the Xbox One, that one's fake, right? It's so fake. I admire the gumption of someone like buying a new Xbox Series X and like potentially ruining it by blowing vape smoke into bro.
Seeing this fake Xbox vaping videos is literally the first time I've seen the new Xbox, by the way. This is like, is it weird? Is it like is it concave on the top? Is that a bowl? Can you put a bowl of cereal in there? Like, what is that? Is it round? Look, doesn't it look like it's round?
It might be a little rounded. I'm not sure.
I think it's kind of rounded at the top. Chat, help me out. Who's seen an actual Xbox? Can I sit my bowl of cereal there? Because now I'm kind of interested.
Yeah, or a bowl of soup, since there's like probably hot air blowing through there. I
assumed it was dry ice, and so I like my cereal really cold. So.
Really cold. Yeah, okay, so they are.
Thank you, Aggressive Whisper.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. Like the Xbox Series X, it looks a little bit more attractive to me. Like I was thinking of buying a computer case for a little while that looked like that, but I don't know. It's still too big, and the PS5 is even bigger. Like I don't have any room for any of this stuff in an apartment. I don't understand why. Like I know that I'm now too old for video games because I have no idea why anyone is excited for these coming out in 2020.
You only need two consoles: the Magic Leap and the Luna. Right? If you have your Luna for your cloud-based gaming, you got your Magic Leap for augmented reality. This is great. Look at this. Okay, maybe I'm back on the Xbox trend. Maybe I get
like I want to get that. It blows so much air out of the top that
that's pretty nice actually.
All right, let's go on to our next possibly unreal story. Next one, next story is a pigeon. This pigeon sold for $1.9 million. I think this one's been given away by the AP News headline at the top, but this one's completely real.
Oh yeah, I believe everything I read on AP. Come on, Naomi.
Yeah, who's this AP anyway? What does that stand for? Always.
This is real.
Yeah, this is totally real. And pigeon racing has been around for a long time, right? Like this comes from courtesy of Jeff Engelstein, who was like, "Oh, I'm in the wrong business as a board game designer. I should have been in pigeon racing all along."
I'm not sure I'm not sure if he thinks that just like pigeon racing in general is very lucrative, or is he saying the business he should be in is being the guy that sells the one pigeon that's really, really expensive? Because that's a hard business to break into. Yeah, anyone can pigeon race, but it's really usually not a millionaire's, gig.
Right. Yeah. And so pigeon breeding, I guess it's really difficult. Yeah. Jeff, if you're getting into pigeon breeding, good luck. If you're trying to make games about pigeon breeding, well, good luck. I think Wingspan has kind of cornered that market. Elizabeth Hargrave beat you to it, but yeah, the pigeon breeding, the prices are up to record amounts, I guess, because it's gotten big in China, and that people are doing a lot of pigeon races there, which I don't know. Like it sounds like interesting to me, right? It's like it's an event that's very dramatic, where you like don't know whether the pigeon's gonna make it back home in time. It's almost like this is like the closest thing we have to like around the world in 80 days. Since I guess are rally races still a thing? Maybe they are, but those are. Yeah, they are. So, but this is, to me, at least, the pigeon race is even more exciting because you're like, the pigeon just sets off. It's like kind of hard to, like, maybe they're tracking them digitally these days. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they cost $1.9 million. But it's like, you don't know exactly what's going on with that pigeon. It's just making its way across the country. And then you find out, like, which one was the fastest to home its way back home.
I have questions.
Yeah.
So. First of all, I love part of the fun of a story like this is just being reminded that there are huge scenes out there around games and sports that you're not aware of. Just stumbling into a world where there's tons of people who are obsessed and their whole life is this thing that you like weren't aware even existed, right? So, when you discover kabaddi, the sport kabaddi, where you say kabaddi as you play it and you're holding your breath, right? Right. Or the other day I was on YouTube and I stumbled across the tech ball finals from 2019, from 2019, sorry, not from 100 years ago. Tech ball. Can we do a live? Can you just like search tech ball? Am I throwing a wrench in the works if I get Logan to just search for something? TEQBALL. So if you do it, like I had no idea. Yeah, check out Tech Ball, right? So I love when you discover like, wait, what? There's a whole scene, But my question about so first of all, that's great about pigeon racing. But my question about pigeon racing is, doesn't most of it happen off screen? So you release these things and then like a week later they come, like how does that part work?
That's why I think it's interesting, because it doesn't have this immediacy that we're used to in sports, but I think my guess is that's part of why it's such a huge betting phenomenon, because it's like, you have no idea like what's going on with that pigeon. Like maybe there's a tracer on it, so you see where it is, like via GPS or something.
Yeah, that would be good. But do you think races last a week?
Yeah, no, they're a long time. It's a pigeon has to fly like many hundreds of miles or longer, right? So that it's really stretched out. And we got some good information in chat. Like apparently Mike Tyson is into pigeon racing. That doesn't surprise me. It's like it seems pretty close to the kind of like really unpredictable sports betting that's not, that's less about I don't know, that's almost in this strange, uncertain, slightly shady place, right? It's all about pigeon breeding and like, is this pigeon really the best? And like, we won't even know until we make this pigeon fly hundreds of miles to try and get back home.
Chat, are you talking about marble racing? Is that what you guys are talking about? Marble racing?
Yeah.
That is objectively the best sport. If you guys,
it's pretty good.
We're talking about marble racing. I love that one guy with the marble. Yeah, it's so good, and it works on your brain, even though it's like it somehow works, even though it's kind of purely random, but it's also deterministic. It's just, I know
it's deterministic, but we can't predict it because we're not God, right? Like God knows who's going to win this marble race, but only God knows.
It's like poo sticks, It's such a good.
Marble racing is fantastic.
Marble
one. There you go. And marble racing will go on forever. And so pigeon racing. It's actually been around for a long time, right? And now it's, I guess, Danny was saying because horse racing is illegal in China, right? So pigeon racing is legal. Right? So,
yes, and the pigeon is the horse of the sky.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Pigeons are really good. They're so good at certain types of things. I had a professor in college who trained pigeons to run missile guidance systems for the Department of Defense, and they were actually better than humans
to run them.
Yeah, to do missile guidance targeting, right? So like rather than having a human operator like guide or like a radar missile, and have a pigeon do it. And the pigeons were much better than people at doing that. But the Department of Defense fired him. This is like my psychology professor who's like, when I was in college decades ago, he was like already like 70 years old. Because they were like, oh, no, but we're going to get roasted alive if people find out that we have pigeons firing these missiles to blow people up. Yeah.
Yes, we might get literally roasted alive. Those pigeons aren't quite as good as your professor claimed.
No, well, the enemies of America will be roasted alive by the pigeons, but the generals will take a beating.
Yeah, I've met the enemies.
That was their idea.
I've met the enemies of America, and they are us.
So we're our own.
Trust me, it's going to be us that gets roasted alive.
We've learned that about, and so that brings us to our next thing, which is real or not, is TikTok a dangerous enemy of America? And like, is anything going to happen to TikTok at all? If any of you have been following the saga of TikTok and the Trump administration recently, they've been ordered to sell. ByteDance, the owner of TikTok, has been ordered to sell TikTok to someone in the U.S. Or be banned completely, like WeChat was for a while. Yeah, and so I don't know. This is something that the Republican Party, like even the major organs like the Wall Street Journal, were like, oh, you better be careful. People engage with Chinese companies if you're using TikTok or WeChat, or if you play League of Legends, or if you buy any games from Epic. Like they were sort of, the Wall Street Journal was saber rattling and being like, get rid of these gaming companies that have involvement with Tencent. But then, fascinatingly, and I can't imagine why this would be. It's like the Justice Department seems to have completely forgotten about TikTok.
Yeah. So this is sort of a real news story, but there is we could talk a little bit about deep fakes on TikTok. So there's like a micro genre in TikTok of deep fake videos where you superimpose your face on other people's. You have like access to videos that you can manipulate and stuff. TikTok, I mean, it's weird. The weird thing to me is the way that there's a generation of people doing video processing on their phones. They're doing video editing on their phones, right?
Right, sure.
Is that how most TikTok content gets made? Made on the phone, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it was true of the old TikTok too. And now I can't even remember its name.
Help us out. Help two older people. Chat. What was the original Vine? No.
Vine. Vine. It's like also.
Yeah. Get on my level, chat. Come on, too late. Too late.
Vine, I miss you.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. Welcome to 5 seconds ago, chat. I already came up with it. No, thank you.
It's live video editing. You just do it right there, right?
TikTok's great. Do you have TikTok on your phone, Amy?
Yeah, of course I do.
Yeah, TikTok's pretty good. Yeah.
I guess I'm having all my data harvested and taken to China, which is now I don't know, maybe we should just go forward to that article about Apple, right? This was sent in. Alexander King, who I know is in chat, suggested this to Jeff Petriello. Yeah, this article, "Your Computer Isn't Yours," maybe worth reading, pointing out that
is this an article or this person's resume? I think this is this person's resume.
This is what's called a blog.
I'm gonna hire this person.
This is a blog post.
What's their skills? They know
unpretentious kind of internet journalism.
French, Espanol. They're well read. They know lots of different languages.
Yeah, so this is we've reached a moment, which I guess, according to this article, that we've been warned about for over 20 years by people like Richard Stallman and Cory Doctorow, serious, like people from the early internet, that place that you love, Frank. We're pointing out that, yeah, we've really gone across the privacy Rubicon now. Apple's new machines, it's just not even possible to make them private, right? Like it was until now. If you did a lot of hacks, like, turn things off, install privacy safeguards, you could keep a laptop that you bought from like reporting all of your activities in your location back to like Microsoft or Apple. And now Apple is releasing machines where it's like not even possible to do that. Like you can't, it's like pretty much like you're never going to be able to get away from Apple. They can, if they want to, just track where you are, what apps you're running. And, Apple tries to act like, right, at least their shtick right now is, we're the company who cares about your privacy. But this is in part because they've been caught with their pants down multiple times with iOS.
Jeffrey Toobin style.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so who knows what's going to happen in the future? There's like, we're into the point now where I guess it's hard to care too much about the Trump administration or the Wall Street Journal being like, your data could be harvested when you buy a game from Epic, because the operating systems now, like nobody is even really bothering to try and stop them from just to harvesting huge amounts of data, right? So I don't know. On this, are you concerned about the privacy?
The thing about privacy, I think I've said this to you, maybe said this on the show before, but I'm pretty sure I've said this to you, which is thinking about privacy is one of the things that led me to my theory of how civilization works, which is civilization works as a web of overlapping neuroses that we're all free riding on other people's hangups, right? Free riding in the positive sense. Like free riding is good. Free riding is like when you buy and if my neighbor's a beekeeper and you are maintaining a nice hive of bees, my garden is free riding on those bees come over and they pollinate my flowers. I'm free riding, right? By the same token, I don't care. I just don't care about privacy. It's just not a thing for me. I just assume that I'm safe because I'm one of 80 billion people, whatever. I'm just like, I'm protected by the law of large numbers.
And you're not doing anything that's particularly risky.
However, whenever I see someone who is concerned about privacy, I realize, it's because there's a small subset of people for whom privacy is a really big deal. They're the people acting like a check on the voracious appetite, or really even just the inertia, right, that would otherwise drive the system towards eroding all privacy, right? And so I look at them individually and I'm like, ooh, tap the brakes, man. You're a little too concerned about privacy. Like why is that such a priority? But then I step back and I realize, I benefit from that in the same way that when I walk into I think I've made this analogy before and people get mad at me about it, but when I walk into a candy, like a drugstore, I can buy a candy bar without checking the price. And I know I'm not going to get gouged because there are people who do check the price on candy bars. And that acts as a force that makes sure that then I get to drift through life and never check the price on a candy bar, because there are people who do that. But if I saw someone check the price on a candy bar, I'd be like, whoa, what a cheapskate. Oh, you're worried it's going to be like too expensive, So, and it's made me more tolerant of other people's hangups, even if they're not.
So then what happens when it turns out that those people have lost? Because that's sort of what they're saying for now, right? That like we're really, really slid way far down the slope from where those privacy advocates wanted us to be. And it's become harder and harder to claw our way back up. Like, is this a point where the rest of us have to care? Like, if they're sounding the alarm bell and we're kind of thinking, oh well, you guys are worried about that. That's great. You keep doing.
I haven't gotten to that part. I'm just at the part where I'm not making fun of them. That's what I'm rewarding. I'm just like, good job. Like first, but it also means not making fun of Trump, the former president, right? In a way, right? Like in a way, you're like, oh, he's
because
like
he's
Chinese, and it's like maybe, yeah, everyone's got hangups, and maybe like they're right and wrong to various degrees. But to begin with, we should probably incrementally be slightly more tolerant of other people's primary concerns, even if we think they're misguided.
Right, sure. Well, I mean, yeah, and then we're talking about should the US government try to act as a check on China, which I don't know, I would sort of generally agree with, like, no, who else is going to do that, right? It's
right,
like,
exactly, yeah.
Then you have to kind of hope that the US government does something to counterbalance whatever the PRC would get up to if there was no check on them at all.
Yeah.
But nobody's checking like Apple. Nobody's acting as a check on Apple, right? That I think is the issue that we're looking at here.
Right.
Like Epic certainly hasn't been able to so far.
It's I mean, maybe it's a little bit like that Jack Nicholson speech in A Few Good Men, where Tom Cruise tricks him into admitting that whatever he did in that movie, because he's like, yeah, because behind the scenes, we're the people doing this thing that allows for everything else to take place, even though you don't like it. I don't know. Right. It's weird. Right. But maybe that's also true of like the Electronic Frontier Foundation and Antifa,
Yeah, could be. Well, I've felt that way about Antifa for a long time. Yeah. I think I told you that in one of the first
conversations. Right, that's when I first brought this up, like years ago. Right. I think you mentioned, and I was because I was proposing, like, what annoying subculture is maybe actually secretly doing some good, and it was, I think, atheists in my head. I was like, oh yeah, atheists are so annoying, this like, but maybe they're like a little bit like Jack Nicholson in that, not Jack Nicholson, the golf player, but Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men, who maybe it's just more complicated, and they are sort of like their hang up is part of this web of overlapping neuroses that keeps the whole machinery going. I don't know. Look, I haven't worked out this theory in detail. It's just a feeling.
Yeah, it's totally understandable. But yeah, I don't even know what Apple's excuse is. I want to actually put a link in chat, because this is the thing that really bothers me about this, is that, yeah, like Vice has just done this big report where they found out that, like, yeah, there's this supply chain of data that's just being bought from apps, right? So this, like, Apple is facilitating this, but they're not the only ones. And it's really just the fact that there are tons of apps that just collect unnecessary data as part of installing and running the app. And it turns out that, like, somebody's been scraping together all of this data from apps that are popular with Muslims and selling location data on, like, a large percentage of the Muslim population to the US military, which has been known to use location data to target drone strikes, right? So, like, now that's like how real this stuff gets, right? Like, it's something super real. Yeah.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah. And so I don't know, like, this is the kind of thing I look at this and I think about, like, oh yeah, there are these people who've been yelling about privacy for 20 years. It hasn't stopped this kind of thing from happening. If they had been successful, there would have been, like, a taboo against this, right? Like, it would have just been so taboo that people would have been like, yeah, like, everybody would have this attitude, like, I can't use your products. It's like finding out that there's rat feces in your coffee or something, right?
I made a game that uses the Alexa. So I'm deep in this. Like, right? Like, a lot of people refuse to play Hey Robot because, like, I don't want one of those devices in my house. But somehow there's like millions and millions of people with those devices in their house. So
right. Well, the Alexa is a funny case because it feels more invasive just because of the interface, when really, the problem, well, certainly the location tracking problem is much more invisible, right? And people don't realize that they're like, one of the apps that apparently generated a huge amount of location data that the military bought is a level that you just use to check. It's like a level app on your phone. You use to check whether things are level, right? Mm-hmm. And, like, why would that even be tracking your location? Right? Apparently it is, right? And so it's not the obvious ones like saying
occasionally it needs to update the BIOS, and if it doesn't know where it is, it doesn't know what DRM to use to download.
It's Internet of Things. You have an internet connected level, and it's on your phone. So so we're in a bad situation now. We somehow have not managed to establish a taboo against all of this information being tracked and bought to whoever wants to buy it, right? Sooner or later, I mean, it could be like, for a lot of people in this world, there is nobody worse who could be buying this data than the U.S. military. But for those of us who are American citizens or live here where the U.S. military is technically forbidden of operating on U.S. soil, sooner or later it's going to be people buying this stuff who will also terrify us, right? And then I don't know, will it be too late? Or maybe there'll be a sea change, and I don't know what. Apple's making noises about safeguarding people's privacy, and I think they realized that this was a huge problem about 2 years ago, from what I could tell from their messaging. But I
think we can agree the most important thing for people to do is play Hey Robot, leave me a 5-star review on Amazon, and also on Board Game Geek, leave me a review on Board Game Geek. Why is it so hard to get the minimum number of reviews you need to have that thing even show up on the list on Board Game Geek? If you have Hey Robot, thank you very much, and please leave me a nice review on.
My copy of Hey Robot is with my Dreamcast, and also I bought it. I don't even have an Alexa. I don't have any kind of.
I'll send you a Google Home. I've got.
I have a Google Home.
$8.
They just throw Google Homes on the street in New York trying to give
exactly.
So I picked one up. I picked one up out of a garbage can at one point. I dumpster dived a Google Home, but I haven't taken it out of the box because my partner refuses to have one operating in our house.
Hang on. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's go to the next. Let's go to whatever our next story is. This one is. This one's about the Wipeout supercar. Yeah,
I proposed this article.
Yeah, so there's you can actually get the car from Wipeout. This is a real thing. I looked at this. I was like, how could this possibly be a real car?
Look at this thing, right? Scroll down. Give us some more of these beauty shots. Oh. The best thing about these beauty shots is the thing that it's sitting on. I love that. But also it's great looking. Wipeout is so good.
Are these renderings? Are these just renderings of the car? Right?
Yeah. No, this is a real car. You can actually buy it, I'm pretty sure. It's beautiful. I love Wipeout. Wipeout has a real place in my heart, Naomi, because it was one of the first games it's one of the first video games I ever encountered that just felt like pop culture. It didn't feel like kids culture, and it didn't feel like it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons, and it wasn't, it just felt like sophisticated in a youth culture kind of way, and it was also just a great game. But it was it was just like that overall sense of style. It felt like an album. For me, it was like the first video game that felt like culturally it was like an album, and I think that was just a turning point for me in my love of games.
Yeah, and it's a combination of the music and something about the perspective of that game, right?
And the graphics. So they worked with the Designers Republic, which is this famous British graphics and design house, which did the sort of a lot of the interface. A lot of these elements are classic 90s rave culture graphic design, but integrated into this science fiction setting. And it was for a certain kind of 90s kid like me, that was just so cool. And it just opened up this whole world of what video games could be, and still mostly aren't, but occasionally are, Yeah, and when I saw this car, I was hoping that it was one of those Designers Republic designers that had worked on it, but it wasn't. It's just a couple of people from Psygnosis, I guess.
Oh, okay, yeah, but still, obviously, sort of carrying that aesthetic forward too.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Yeah, so unfortunately, you probably don't respawn at a checkpoint if you drive this car really fast, and that's different.
Drive safely, kids.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's go to this next one. This next story is a big one. This, I don't know, some of you might have caught wind of this too. This is about the latest League of Legends champion. Seraphine. And this article they were putting up here was written by a young woman who's taking legal action against Riot because of this. Basically, like she's saying like, I'm pretty sure that this new champion is based on me. And yeah, and so here, this is another one. It's like, is this a real story? What's going on? And I think that this is a complicated one, right? Because it seems pretty clear that something happened to this young woman. She's like recounts in detail the story about dating a creepy sounding guy who works for Riot, who apparently is no longer employed there, but who keeps promising her like, oh, you would make a great champion. I have some influence with the champion designers. I could totally like suggest a skin that's based on you. And then so you can kind of understand why she would end up being like, hey, wait a second, did you actually go through with this, even though I didn't want to date you? So I don't know, there's something sort of fascinating and horrible and creepy here. Even so, Riot has gone on since this came out to say like, no, this definitely didn't happen. That we deny it's based on a real person, and that the guy who was involved, who's in this story, was not even working at Riot by the time this character was being designed. So they've like flat out denied it. But it's a complicated, weird thing, in part because this like this. Look at this tweet right here. There's a whole social media campaign that Riot launched in order to try and promote this character, which is all about how she's an aspiring pop star / wizard because it's League of Legends. And she makes social media posts that are like relatable and like sort of parasocial. I'm sad too. Like, hey, cheer me up, guys, right? But also very clearly a virtual character, a Vocaloid. We've been talking about this recently, right? Like the artificial people that you can have relationships with, and so there's this. I think the suspicion lingering around, like, well, wait, are you actually using real people? Are you grinding up real people to make the synth meat that goes into these characters?
Yeah, because that's how things work. That's how fiction works. That's how design works.
Sure.
I remember when this character first came out, everyone just assumed it was a reference to the bathwater gamer girl, Belle Delphine.
Belle Delphine, I guess, right? Is that the type of character?
Exactly like Belle Delphine. And I think really what this is just this is a type. This is actually like a sort of common look, style that many people adopt. And
sort of I want to be an influencer like style.
It's just the style, the pink hair and the big glasses, and the overall sensibility.
Right.
It's not like super unique. It's kind of it's just a thing.
Yeah, they're just sort of ripping off of something in popular culture, right?
Right.
And, but then I don't know. Of course, yeah. So of course this is actually based on a real person. So the League of Legends, the devs at Riot were like, no, this isn't a real person. But then like the lead designer is like, I based it on my partner.
Right. Another person entirely. So yeah, it's just
right. A couple of others
where this one goes.
Yeah. So this is it's like it's just a rabbit hole, right? Of like like creative people base characters on real people. This like has been happening.
This is why movies have that weird warning in them, right?
Right.
All the characters in this film are fictional, right? All the characters in this film. I mean, you could let's just put a warning label on video games, and then we'll be in the same boat as movies.
Well, no, I mean, there already are, right? But here's the thing: it's supposed to be plausible deniability, right? Like, I think what's interesting here is, and maybe this is what's different about video games, is that you're not supposed to tell people. Like, if you're an author, and I think some authors break this rule, but generally, it's like authors and maybe screenwriters don't go around just telling everyone, like, oh yeah, this is based on this person. This is a pastiche of these two people, right? Like. Partly for mystique, partly because those people might get mad at you, partly because it's like a super creepy thing to do to, like, I don't know, go on one date with someone and be like, I'm going to base a character off of you, right? In an attempt to get somebody to sleep with you. It's like it's horribly cheesy and like grossly manipulative and whatever else. And it's like writers get in trouble for this all the time as well. Right, exactly. And so it's sort of understood. It's like, well, you shouldn't do that. Like, of course, you're going to be basing characters off of people that you've met, and then you don't talk about it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Also, yeah. Also, all the characters in League of Legends are stupid.
Yeah,
the whole thing is dumb.
Right. Well, they have to make so many champions, and
they could just stop. We could stop paying attention to them though. They could keep making them, and then we could just ignore them.
Yeah. So maybe we shouldn't have even talked about this story.
It's fine.
But like, I feel bad for this woman in part because like, yeah, she dated this like creepy guy at Riot, and then also because then she got worried that like a champion had been based on her, and then she put a story out about it, and now like I don't know, a lot of people are calling her names for the temerity.
Yeah, I would never. Yeah, I'm not sure what she thought the end game was going to be in this. It can't end well.
No, I think she was probably maybe more upset than anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this happens if you date musicians, screenwriters, artists, game developers, writers. You might end up in something sooner or later.
Yeah.
In this case, it actually seems to not happen. So she dodged a bullet in that respect. All right, let's go on to our next story. This one is one that was suggested by Matt Parker. This is also sort of unbelievable that could the New York Mets become an incredibly well-funded, wealthy team that goes on to win the World Series? This is like, I don't know, blows up my worldview of baseball as limited as it is. Like,
it means nothing to me. I didn't know that the Mets were famously poor.
Well, you knew about the Yankees and the Mets. Have you heard
I knew the Yankees were famously rich.
Yes, and so the Mets were one.
I assume the Mets were somewhere in the middle. You know, as a New York team, they would
somewhere in the middle, but they're not renowned for winning lots of games because they have a lot of money, right? That's what the Yankees are famous for.
Maybe they should get better at baseball. Have they considered that part of the equation? Improve their baseball skills?
This is the strategy to have a winning baseball team: is spend inordinate amounts of money. Like
coincidentally, I just watched Moneyball for some reason.
Oh, okay,
Moneyball cropped up in my algorithm, and I was like,
sorry,
Moneyball. This is how things work now. I started seeing clips from Moneyball on YouTube that just started popping up, like the scene from Moneyball where he's like in the room and he's like talking to the scouts and stuff. And I was like, wow, Moneyball! I remember that's a really good movie. So then we ended up watching it, and it's really good. It's a good movie about games. It's about sports. It's got Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill. It's surprisingly good. Really good movie.
It's because you were talking about Nate Silver on the Discourse last week.
Maybe.
And then they were like, oh, I bet Frank wants to watch Moneyball. And they were right.
So I should watch the next one. Maybe should be the Tom Cruise one, right? Where Show Me the Money. What's that? The one about the sports agent.
What the one that you had me at hello, that
yes. One? Right? Maybe that's next on my sports movie marginality.
That Jerry Maguire. That's what we're
Jerry
thinking.
Maguire. Thank you.
Jerry Maguire.
Once again,
wait,
the
Bobby,
host outperforming the chat. I don't know what's going on here. Things are all upside down. But
yeah, apparently, did you see Bobby Kotick? He's in Moneyball. I didn't realize that either. Like he's just shows up there in a cameo.
He does?
Yeah.
In Moneyball?
Moneyball. Yeah. He but I don't understand who he plays. He's
one of the things that makes Moneyball a good movie is that it's full of these like people that clearly are not actors. Right? Because they're sort of like they're playing the kind of guys that hang out and do scouting and stuff, and they're all these older guys that so I imagine Kotick fitting right in there.
Like, he plays the owner of Oakland A's.
Okay, that's a great scene. He comes in to do a deal with the Oakland A's, and this guy is like, that's where he meets Jonah Hill, who's in the corner kind of whispering about which dudes to trade.
Right, and that's apparently that's Kotick.
Wow, so, I had no idea. See, video games, it's all connected. We look like we're straying really far off the topic, but Naomi always manages to bring it back.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'm technically a Mets fan because I'm not a Yankees fan, and because I've gone to enough baseball games in New York. that I had to choose sides at some point, due to like, I don't know, social pressures. So I don't know if I could be.
Yeah. I'm a Yankees fan because when Hillary was pregnant with James, it was the summer, and we watched a lot of baseball, and we ended up watching the Yankees. And so for whatever reason, it was just random, but we ended up seeing a lot of Yankees, and that just stuck with me. I don't watch a ton of baseball, but I got no hate for the Yankees. They're fine. I know the heels. They're the heels. They're good heels.
Yeah, they're the heels. They're the evil empire. And the Mets, just my association is that they lose a lot. So if they stopped losing, I couldn't imagine them being the Mets anymore. My family has a long history of rooting for the Brooklyn Dodgers, which is sort of were the Brooklyn team before the Mets, and they got famously sent to Los Angeles.
They play for Los Angeles now.
Yes, they do. And so we're not fans of them anymore, but I still have a Brooklyn Dodgers pennant in my house with the Brooklyn Bum, who was the mascot. And as a result, that was my 1-year-old daughter's first full word was bum, because she learned how to say bum.
Nice.
So there we go. That's baseball. So heartwarming, a special place in family culture in America. Let's go on to the next one. This one you should be able to guess. Is it possible that someone built all of Middle Earth in Minecraft? Real news or not? Is it real news or not? This one, of course, it shouldn't be hard to guess, is real. Like nobody is even surprised by this, right? Of course, a team of people spent 10 years building all of Middle Earth in Minecraft. Have we gotten used to seeing this type of story? Like somebody builds something amazing in Minecraft and we're just like, oh. But this one I thought was, I actually want to go and wander around in this one. I'm just really curious about it.
Yeah, the nice thing about this one is the sense of scale. If you look at these images, it no longer has the kind of Minecraft blockiness, because you're so far back. You're looking at these giant things. Look at that, right? That's just like, it just looks like nice computer graphics. It's funny how evergreen Minecraft remains as a toolkit for doing graphics, like for doing 3D, right? There is something about the constraint, right? That allows for variety within similarity, right? That the unit grid of the Minecraft voxel imposes a kind of regularity that just people can't get enough of. They just love that, like looking at various kinds of spaces and architecture run through this level of fundamental.
It makes me wonder, like, what if you could take this type of imagery or experience, like back 100 years, so let's say to 1920. People are familiar with motion pictures, and you're like, look at this landscape. It's made out of tiny cubes. Like, what would the reaction be? Like, is there something that's like an aesthetic response to like that that's kind of interesting, like regardless of your context, or is it something about the digitization that we're accustomed to? I'm not really.
I think they would recognize it as a variation on the mosaic.
Right, yeah, or like pointillism.
Right, exactly, pointillism, or even in a sense, the brush stroke. The brush stroke itself does this in painting. There's a reason that paintings aren't good because they look exactly like the subject that they're reproducing. They're good because they look like the subject they're reproducing while also being composed of brush strokes.
Right. Yeah.
That's what's happening. I think this is just a thing you see in all forms of art.
I just love when you go down to the level of bag end, like the smallest place that somebody might live, right? Like if you're a hobbit, you're a short person, then it looks like just regular fucking Minecraft.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's the small scale. But here's what I really want to see. I want to walk around in here because apparently they built out all of the landscape between the places that you read about in the books and see in the movies.
Is it to scale?
Yeah, apparently it's to scale, right? So you have to, and it doesn't take, weeks to traverse, right? It's not like 1-to-1 scale or something like that. Oh. Exactly.
Is this a product?
No, I think it's just it's a
paying for this.
Nobody. It's a volunteer work. They like just made all of it for fun because they love Middle Earth.
World.
And they love Minecraft. Yeah. No, it's a huge amount of work. I just want to see what they put in between all these places, because I'm like, what? That's what I want to know about. I'm like, well, what's the bridge across the whatever river look like? The ones that we didn't see in the movie. Like, what's out there? Can you just like wander around and find like a quiet nook somewhere in Middle Earth that's off the beaten path? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is a classic example of free writing on other people's neuroses.
Yep, there you go.
Everybody, it's free. Just enjoy.
Check it out. There's so much stuff to enjoy. Why would you be excited about getting a PS5 or an Xbox Series X? There's too many other things to be excited about. That's my question for the week. All right, let's.
Look, it's us in another dimension.
Oh yeah, people.
Yeah, look.
I am neither of those people. I just have to make a point. All right, let's go on to our next one. Then let's leave it here since we're almost out of time. But I want to do one more link, and this is our recommended long read for the week. This is the San Francisco Chronicle doing an in-depth piece on Jerry Lawson. If you don't know who Jerry Lawson is, I think it's a good story to read. He's been featured in some documentaries recently, but there hasn't been a whole lot of news reporting about him. He is basically the guy who led the invention of the game cartridge. He was in charge of the development of the Fairchild Channel F console, which was the first console that used cartridges. And so he's really, one of the founding engineers of the game industry. And and then he was forgotten for many years. Like, I think this is a classic case of somebody who contributed a lot to the game industry, was left and pushed out by various forces that are that I don't know every detail of the story. And I don't know that it's clear that had he been a different person, had he been like a Nolan Bushnell or someone who was whose work was more recognized as you're an auteur behind early games, that he might have stayed in the game industry. But instead, he was forgotten about for a long time, and now just recognized now, just in the last decade or so, as an important figure. And unfortunately, as soon as the IGDA was oh wow, we forgot about this guy, we should really honor him, he died a month later of diabetes. Yeah,
Two thumbs up for Jerry Lawson. Great article. And and you know what? There's a hidden theme in this week, which was platform studies. In addition to fake news, we ended up talking a lot about platforms, as we often do. But that's our take on the launch of the latest generation of consoles. Yep.
The documentary that he's in, right? He's in in High Score, right? I assume that's what Salty Horse is talking about. So check out High Score as well. You can also see Salty.
And apparently, Salty Horse is also in that documentary. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Yeah.
All right. I think that's all we have for this week. It's about 2:00 now, so we're going to wrap it up.
Thank you, Logan. Thank you, Mirabai. Thank you, chat.
Thanks as always to our hosts, to Logan and Mirabai for the caption. Right. We'll see you guys later. Oh, and wait, we're taking next week off. No Discourse. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more Discourse.
2 weeks.
Have a good Indigenous Peoples Day on next Thursday.
Gobble.
Gobble, gobble.
All right, thank you so much for tuning in to the Discourse. Once again, your news hosts have been Naomi Clark and Frank Lance. I was your behind-the-scenes operator, Logan Clare. Graphics are by Winnie Song, and captioning was by Mirabai Knight of Stenonite Cart Services. That's all for now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.